Binny had started this session with trying to put enthusiasm and energy into this was a little unsettling in the beginning, but I guess released a lot of what should I say, the potential energy which builds up as you travel all over the place into Mumbai. And for me, getting to the airport is easier, but coming around, getting down, and taking so many U-turns and getting here in almost 25 minutes, I thought to myself, can't there be a simple slide down the side and you get into Aureka straight away? Maybe I would help us do that. So, um, first of all, my congratulations to the IFTA Forum for completing 10 years. It's a massive achievement because you need to have belief that this is important for the country and important for the teams which are involved, because the startups and the fintechs which come here need a lot of encouragement. They are at different stages, and the awards which go to recognize them. I'm sure there would be many success stories from the first or the second versions which have gone on to do so well. So my congratulations to everybody who is part of this, who's helped organize this, and who have been recognized by this forum. Incidentally, it so happens when I was coming here today morning, uh, and I was trying to go through the notes as to what do you speak about AI native banking. It's like something we are all trying to do, but we are not gone there. And I just looked up the news headlines: $17.5 billion committed by Microsoft towards AI stack in India. There was another item on that the government will want to use all the data which is available with copyrights for training the models. I don't know how that is possible. Legally, it may not be, but still. So, lot of noise, or let's say a lot of headlines around AI. In fact, in the banking space to which I belong, and I didn't start with banking, by the way. You said 91. So before that, 2 years, I was on the shop floor at Steel Authority trying to make steel. And we say we also make steel. So we're doing that and then into banking. So therefore, in terms of getting to AI native banking, the conversation for the last 10 years has been all around tech first and then digital. So most banks have converted their existing processes, which were manual to begin with, into tech-based processes, or let us say digital processes. And this journey started with the plain vanilla internet banking, as we call it, and before that, the computerization of the branches and also core banking, which came in for us in sometime in 2004. And from there, it went on to, as I said, net banking, then the mobile banking, and finally the digital apps. And this is the digital apps came around maybe 7, 8 years, 10 years, 8 years back for us. And we thought that we have done it. I mean, 92%, 93% of our transactions are now digital, not happening in the branch. But the artificial intelligence piece of it just hit us, as it has done with so many other people. So in our bank, we started out with machine learning, which is can be considered a precursor or maybe smaller part of this. And we created a lot of models of lending, fraud risk management, and so on. And we thought again that this is it. We'll continue to improve it and maybe have better models. Our app will be able to do this. And then AGI happened a couple of years back. And again, AGI is something we don't know how to react to. I mean, Chat GPT, everybody is today sending whatever they're asked through Chat GPT. What it does to your capabilities in terms of analyzing, etc., is a different conversation, but it's very helpful to a lot of people. So therefore, how do you build all of this into your banking space? And more importantly, as we understand, there are regulatory guidelines, the most important being the Data Protection Act, which has rules of which has just been notified. So how do you take consent of the customer every single time you have a new use case? Whereas the entire logic of building machine learning, analytics, all large language, small language, all models, which is to use all the data you have and put them into the system and try to get the insights. And these insights could be used for any purpose. So how do you balance this data protection, consent, and also the fact that models need to be trained well so there are no biases, the AI is responsible, because otherwise, if you start to depend on AI decision making, which ultimately we are all going towards, in fact, we've already gone partly, how do you make sure that there are no gray spots? The customer is not done wrong by a AI bias or a small error which might have crept in the model. So these are the big pieces that banks like us, legacy banks, are struggling with. Now, on the logistics side, which is uh, which is also difficult, but I guess easier to solve because it's ultimately all the systems, etc. Which is the problem is as follows, which is that all banks are mostly on mainframes, and mainframes were not even fully aligned to digital. Forget about getting all the data which we hold in the system, whether on the mainframe or in the app or in the CRM system. So we have multiple systems today, risk management systems, the loan management systems. How does all this data come together and be manipulated in a manner which is useful for an AI model? So therefore, coming to this, while we all have data warehouses mostly, but data lake is the next thing which we are implementing today so that everything is available in a very structured manner, and all the data which comes is easily manipulated by the bank's models. Still a work in progress, because I remember that the data warehouse project, the upgrade which we initiated about 4 years back, was delayed by 2 years. Can you imagine the best company in the world, which in this, I will not name the company, you can guess it's a multinational company, overshot its target by 2 years. And why is that? Because this is India. The kind of customers we have, 530 million customers, and their data, and the data around those customers, and the not only generated by them or by us, the environmental data is just too much. In fact, with UPI coming in, and all of these things are fortunately or unfortunately happening at the same time. UPI comes in 2016, it doesn't pick up, but once COVID starts, so prior to that, phone pay, GPay get into this, it becomes very good. The apps are good. COVID, it just shoots up. And today, what has happened is, in just about let's say 2020 onwards, our transaction load per second then was about 5 to 6,000 transactions per second. Today, in just about 7 years, it's 17,000 transactions per second. This is average. The peak is somewhere around 22,000. And we have built a redundancy of 35,000 transactions per second. But this is not going to be enough. And most of the time, these transactions are happening from us to through GPay or PhonePe somewhere else. We don't even know the end destination. So how do you leverage all this data? How do you have models which are light, which give you the information, which have consent built into this? Again, is a new animal. Nobody talked about consent earlier. In fact, when I joined SBI Card, my team told me first up that, sir, we need to start scraping the mobile data of everybody to know whether they are going to pay up or not, which banks they are paying and all. And I said, no, we are not going to do this, because this is not right by the customer. Even if it means that we have some less information, we are not able to know exactly where the customer is spending or who else he's paying or getting money from, that's okay. And I think this is one big challenge in AI native banking, or for that matter, financial services. How do you have a positive consent of the customer? Today, with account aggregator, again, this is something slightly unrelated to whatever the topic is, but I think it's an important topic. The account aggregator framework is very good, very useful to all the fintechs and those who use financial data. But the customer consent is taken once, and then you have all this list built to, and what no customer understands what all the data is going to be used up. So you have a loan which is being offered on the same thing, an account which is being opened on the same thing, a wealth management which is offered. So all the list is given. I'm very worried about this. That why should we? I mean, on the one side we have the DPDP Act, and then on the other side we have this whole list which the customer doesn't even read. Nobody understands the fine print, and they give a single consent for everything. Is that okay? Probably not. So I think who's going to fix this? All the SROs or self-regulating organizations which we talk about on fintechs and all haven't worked so far. So before the regulator comes in with a very heavy touch and simply bans things like what happened in gaming and so on, I think it's important for the industry, and IFTA would be an important forum for this idea also. How do you build in safeguards into whatever applications are being built by various fintechs, various startups, which from the beginning build in the customer consent, the customer protection, and of course cyber protection. Today, the cyber security and the cyber frauds are one big problem we have in India. Every time you hear about people getting into digital arrest, into sharing their passwords, OTPs, and so on, and we are one of the first countries actually which had OTP as a second factor at scale. When this came in India in 2016-17, US didn't have it. I was in US then. There was no OTP. You just put in a credit card and that's it. And whatever frauds happened in terms of cloning of cards, simply the banks took it as a risk for doing that business and just paid it off. That's it. Today they also have it, but now we need to move beyond this. And can AI help us find that solution? We have various things like gate and biometrics and so on. But do we have something at scale which is intuitive, which is easy to work with? Today, in fact, regulators, and I mean, I'm talking about very senior levels, people are asking, should we not have a half an hour window after which the payment should go through? So that if there is a fraudulent payment going, then at least the customer can realize, yeah, I've made a mistake and stop it. Now, all this is well, but the more friction you build in, the more time you build in, the experience which people already have in terms of flexibility, speed, and intuitiveness, I mean, I don't think people will be happy with that at all. So the challenge before us today, when we look at AI getting into banking in a big way, is this: that you need to have speed, flexibility, intuitiveness, which is good for customers, but you need to protect the customers, take their proper consent for every single use case. Also, make sure that the data is used for helping the customer, not necessarily for pushing a lot of products at the customer. So this is a massive ask. And behind this, as I explained, sits the entire tech stack, data warehouse, and again, when it comes to cloud, nobody can do without cloud. But we are very worried that if we go onto a complete public cloud, then one, do we get locked in? What's the cost implication? More importantly, that if there are leakage happens, we have no control over it. So therefore, as a bank, we have taken a hybrid cloud policy where we do all the PII data only on our own internal cloud, and the rest as a burst capability, we look at the public cloud. So I think the important thing to understand is that banking, which was unchanged for almost 20, 30 years, in the last 7, 8 years or 10 years, has suddenly seen so much of disruption, technical, digital, and now AI and cyber and so on and so forth, that it's very hard for people like us who started with physical ledgers in 1991 when the conversation was all around whether you have reconciled the whole books, not around business, not around protection, nothing. And from that age, it stayed the same for almost 10 years, and suddenly digital tech came in, and then again 10 years, nothing much happened, and again apps and so on. So it's interesting on one side, and this is a forum which tells us so much more. DigiMeet, which was talked about, while this was it's such a good app because today people can just put the phones close to each other and your contacts flow. That's an easier way. Why would I want to scan something? But as the moderator explained, the notes can be taken and so on. So notes can also be taken, by the way, in our normal address book, which is possible to do. But what I was little worried about is all this sits on the cloud. And then who else is using it? Or who else has access to this? And therefore, while all these names of different sponsors were being said, Nipa, my apologies, but all these names were said one after the other, I was thinking about an old Netflix serial called Black Mirror. I don't know how many of you have seen that. And I'm always worrying about these things, that what happens to this data, who else knows about us, and today there's a competition on how many you can get accepted, how many invites you can get accepted. Tomorrow that becomes your performance appraisal. Have you got those? And you will be forced to do this. I mean, I'm just thinking aloud. I did not prepare for all this. So this is the context in which we all sit. Uh, so let me just put out as to how do you achieve AI native banking and what do we mean by this. The protection part I have already talked about a little bit. So therefore, when we did digital banking or tech banking, what we did was essentially the same process which was earlier there. We just converted it to a digital model, which is on the internet or maybe on the mobile app. Not much process change happened. And how did products evolve? Products evolved in response to market requirements, market change, customer feedback, and so on. But that was all obtained, and then the process was changed by a programming change, etc. Now, in the AI space, this is totally flipped on its head. As all of us know, the models learn on the go. So, how do you enable that to happen? That the model is there, and as and when feedback keeps coming in, the model evolves and changes. So, therefore, with such a model, the process needs to be aligned to the model. It's not that the process will continue the same way. So, that is the first big change. That how do you change your processes to be aligned to the AI based approach. And in this, the as I talked about customer protection, etc., etc., I think once we transition to AI decision models, And for example, one of the key clear areas is risk management. Once we are opening an account and we look through all the data which is enabled by AI, and then there is a score which is there given both in loans and also sometimes in other relationships. That score may fall below a certain threshold, and the AI would not clear the customer. That's one general use case. Now, is there a recourse to this? So that's what we want to build in from the beginning, that a customer should have a choice that if his loan application is rejected by AI model, then there should be a human recourse where he could either call up a helpline or email or whatever way, but a human must come in and make a decision that yes, there was either it is justified as per the AI, or there is a case whereby this could have been taken in. So that's the first thing I want to point out, that while the process needs to be changed, what's the protection you build in for an additional layer or a recourse to the customer? The second thing, of course, is that as these models learn, how do you get the talent to not only make those models, but to monitor those models? Those models probably need to be monitored by another model. But all of these needs to be further checked and monitored by humans again. And which are these tech talents? Today, we have a massive challenge. We have a lot of system people, but we need people who are good at prompt engineering. We need people who are data scientists, and we have almost 60 people, data scientist and statistician team already with us for the last 5 7 years. But now the next wave of AI actually needs much more skill set in not only creating models, handling models, analyzing models, auditing them. We don't get good auditors to audit these models. So the conflict remains that if the same person is asked to check whatever is being built up, it's not okay. So there always has to be a Chinese wall between the auditing team, the monitoring team, the creation team, and the ones who run all this. So how do you get that talent? And with us, we thought that we will get people on contract, because for us, either we hire full time contract or on contract. We don't have a choice whereby we just hire and let people go as a public sector entity. So we have started now taking people with some background as a full-time role. And the attraction for us, because over time the compensation will not keep pace with whatever the data scientists, etc., get outside. The attraction is the kind of data the bank holds and the variety of businesses the bank does. Nobody outside will get an opportunity to work on models which are available in the bank, or to build models which will work on all these data sets. So that's what we tell people, that this is your opportunity to actually build something which is not built for a particular product or a particular segment. It's built for India. So building for 530 million customers and increasing by 15, 20% every year. So if that is a scale you want to build on, and once you have done this, globally there is nothing you can't do, at least for in terms of scale and the various permutation and combinations of models you may come across. The third thing which I think which we need to do, while we have done the initial digitization, the analytics, machine learning, etc., but the fact is that how do you uh, how do you have the customers who are aligned to this? They should not blindly believe whatever the model is throwing up and just go along with it. This again is a big evolution. So as I explained, that in terms of UPI, in terms of Aadhaar, eKYC, the customers are fully digitally literate in that sense. But even after all this, people make mistakes like clicking on links, sharing OTPs, and getting swayed by a digital arrest police station, which is video shown to them, etc., etc. So how do you educate the customers to actually be able to use the AI and yet retain control? It's a very hard task. Howsoever awareness we do, and we have done a lot of awareness, RBI does a lot of awareness, what we find is it's hard to reach out to first all of the people. We have a in-house uh, risk management system which is 24 into 7, and we have almost hundreds of people monitoring online transactions, and they save a lot of people. The alerts come, and then they try to talk to the customer. And what is happening is that today there is no peak hour for transactions. What we found is that we had a shutdown once we took it shutdown about 2 years back, 12 to 2 in the night, thinking that this is a lean period. Can you imagine the number of complaints we got? So today India has changed. People are active 12 at 12 in the night, and they are doing all their online transactions then. So which is peak and non-peak, we don't know. In terms of power consumption, everybody thought days where you have the maximum consumption. Today, actually the peak starts from around 6 o'clock to right up to 12 o'clock. So the entire economy, the entire use cases, the entire way the people work and live is changing. And therefore, your systems need to align with that. And I guess AI is one good model to do that. What we have done, apart from creating a team, as I explained, of analytics and data scientists, is also to and our RFP, by the way, is out for AI capabilities for consultants. But to create this AI capability, we have a next-gen data warehouse which has been created. A data lake is being created. And our focus today is we have also taken a lot of these GPUs which you hear about. But the idea is actually to power our internal cloud, because we are not very confident of hosting things on the public cloud, and to work with generative and agentic AI. The first use case is already out. This is, we call it Ask SBI, which is employees can ask anything. But what it does, apart from the regular machine learning kind of model, is to create scenarios, so that any scenario that the guy just asks, I want to open an account, but I'm stuck at this point. And then the AI takes over. So it is better than the machine learning models. It's, of course, a higher version perhaps. So that is one thing we have done. And the second thing which is also done is created a portal on disease cases. The people who have passed away, their successors want to know how do we get payment. Again, different scenarios are built into that. It's completely AI driven, and it tells you what documents to give, who to call, where to reach out, what to fill, what is the witness level. So all the things are there scenario wise, because today we have all shifted from very elaborate questionings to a natural language kind of queries which we talk in day-to-day conversations, and that's where we are moving. But the idea is to build an enterprise-wide application, whatever we do. So first, a base level tech, which we are working, as I explained, the internal cloud is being reinforced. On top of that, the various models will sit. And then we have the, as GPUs and all, various compute capabilities, small language models. So it's a host of uh, elaborate tech changes which we are doing. Parallel to this, we are also building the AI capability into collections, because today again collection is a in my view in the banking the most difficult thing is collecting money. It's easy to give out loans. You just do some modeling and give out loan. Everybody is happy to take them. How do you collect? And especially the more and more digital loans you do, and I looked at so many fintechs which do digital loans. How do you get back your 10,000 rupees or 20,000 rupees? Do you send a person every time? The cost of that person for 1 month is more than whatever you lent out. So therefore, how do you build AI into this? And mind you, the RBI is very concerned about the practices used by people in collections. So the rules today say before 7 o'clock in the morning, you can't call. Before, after 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the evening, you can't call. You need to call from dedicated numbers, and people are smart. They save those numbers and they don't respond to your calls. So how do you do all this? I guess, therefore, what we are trying to do is build AI into this, and which tells us that a person is available at these hours, which tells that this is the channel or phone or mobile number the person is compatible or comfortable talking. And then it picks up all the data sources which are there and creates a nudge as to what you should do. So therefore, all of this, I think it's a good use case. Fraud, of course, everybody understands is a very good use case, because the kind of data we have today, the kind of cases which happen, and the regulator today is clear that even if customer has shared the OTP, password, everything, I mean, even brought the customer and brought the fraudster, given the mobile phone, you will be allowed one or two transactions fraudulent. The third transaction or second transaction onward, you will have to pay the customer, because your system should catch the customer. Now, when these things happen, they are happening in, I mean, 10 to 15 transactions happening in 30 minutes. And while this is happening at one place, the money is getting out of ATMs or through internet banking or mobile banking across India in different channels, etc. It's very, very fast. It's very hard for us. Therefore, don't think without AI usage, we will be able to actually do this. The flip side is that when we try to call a customer, that is it you, half the time people don't pick up. Half the time they get so irritated. "यार, मैं तो phone कर रहा हूँ, why do you want to call me? I mean, it's my account, my phone, and what's your problem?" It's very hard. This is the balance between protection and making sure that things happen in a seamless manner. And therefore, AI hopefully will help us to do this. And as I said, since things are changing so much, we can't today say that there should be an alert if a person sitting in Dhubri in Assam wants to do a Facebook shopping who has never done it. Can we stop that person to do that if he's genuinely the person? And how does AI help you in saying that it is the same person? So I think a lot more needs to be done. to know the customer better, of course, with their consent, largely to protect them. Our lens to customer using customer data is not only to give them the right product, but more importantly, to protect them. And therefore, we will continue to work on these AI models, use as much data as possible, but we haven't found a solution to actually getting a consent every single time. That's the spirit of the legislation. So we'll have to work on this. And lastly, I think, as I explained earlier, that whatever models we use through generative, using generative AI, we'll need to have probably either a human interface or even before there's a judge LLM, which will judge the outputs of all the other models, and then the discrepancies on a customer complaint will come to a human. So I think the way forward is this, that there is no choice. Everybody has to get into AI native banking or financial services, but it needs a complete mindset shift. It is no longer just process change, it is a system change, process change, the way we look at things, because the model is going to completely tell us whatever our understanding of banking or anything is, it's going to tell us that no, this is something you missed, this is where you're wrong. And do we just believe the model and go along, or do we question the model? So how do you respond to these decisions is something we all have to be trained on, learn as we go along. But my belief in the human race is immense. We have adapted to almost everything. So therefore, this is again an animal we'll adopt to. The only thing is we need to be on top of it so that it doesn't guide us, and we should always be able to change or stop or modulate as and when we need. Thank you very much, and all the best for the session going forward.